let's invite Dr. Puti Raja, who's going to speak in live here with all of us to help us understand the integrated medicine. A better round of applause will be given a lot of energy also.
Thank you, Vikram, for those nice words, and thanks, Tony, for giving me an opportunity to speak here. So Rajendra started with a thing about touch and warmth. So I remember this thing about 2001 when I had just recently joined Max, and we were trying to shoot videos for we had this logo where finger touches the thing, so contact touch. And I was part of the video shooting, and I was made to touch, I was to hold a patient's hand, sort of touching the pulse. And this reminded me of the art of medicine, which was 200 years back. That's the real art of medicine which was practiced, because we had no medicines at that time. And there was a video which I still remember. We show our undergraduates, and it's one of the earliest photographs which are shown to when a doctor starts his medical curriculum. There's a dying patient on the bed, and the doctor is just sitting by the side holding the hand of the patient. Because at that time that was what medicine only could do. And you've heard Professor Hegde. Now he's a very, very well-respected, well-renowned professor in our community. And of course, he holds very, very strong views. And in his 35, I've noted that in his 35 minutes presentation, probably he spent about 45 seconds talking good words about the modern medicine or allopathic medicine. But besides that point, what I want to say is, over the years, over decades, now I'll be using two terms, modern medicine and alternative medicines, not that they're right or wrong, but for the convenience. Modern medicine has really lost the art, the field. The art of medicine is going. And you've heard Professor Hegde talking a lot about commercialization and profitability, and how this is becoming an industry. But I would still say that all the systems of medicine do have a very appropriate place still. Modern medicine has a big role to play. Now, whether it is in quick fixes or very limited number of conditions, it still has a role to play. But the way forward clearly is not whether this is wrong or that is right. The way forward is in integrative medicine. We have to combine, club the best what any form of medicine has to offer if we have to heal our patients. What I'll be talking about in next 15 minutes is my small personal journey in this career, in this profession, since I was a small child. And actually, probably I was like, since I remember my childhood, I have always been wanting to be becoming a doctor. In fact, a very interesting incident, my younger son, who studies in the same school from which I passed out, we shared the same teacher. Before she retired, she probably taught my younger son, and she had a classic copy of mine kept just for her. She probably liked it, something in which I had mentioned Dr. Sandeep Udaraja, and this was in class 3rd. And she had kept that copy and showed this to my younger son. Look, your father today is a doctor, and he's got good name, and this is what he was when he was 8 years old. So for me, this was a way of life. This was my career. This was my profession. This was my passion, and I happened to be the only doctor in my close family circuits. Joined Maulana Azad, did my MBBS there, did my post-graduation there, did my senior residency there, so spent about good 12 years in that campus. And interestingly, I have few anecdotes which I want to say about the medical education. The MBBS which we do, after doing your theoretical part of 4.5 years, you are immediately posted during your internship into the clinical areas. And mine happened to be in a hardcore surgical area, and I did not like surgery at that time. And the patients perceive you are doctors, but you are so fresh, and during your medical curriculum you are taught only theory. So the first time you handle a patient, you don't know really how to touch him, how to talk to him, how to even draw a blood sample. And those 12 months of your period actually teach you the art of medicine. The science of medicine you have learned in those 4.5 years, but the art of medicine you actually learn when you are actually with the patients, talking to them, meeting them, and sort of listening to them. Post-graduation followed, where it was an intensive period of practical work, and you actually learned lots of complicated diseases. Typical outpatient would have 600 patients to be covered in 4 hours between 4 doctors. And what that medicine taught us is how to dispose of patients fast in seconds and minutes. It actually started killing the art of medicine there and then. Then went for my higher studies abroad, did my membership of Royal College, and to pass that exam, the examiner gives you exactly 21 minutes to see 7 cases. So that science teaches you how to pick up the clinical signs of a disease very fast. So if you miss 3 minutes and you don't have a diagnosis, go to the next spot, pick up the diagnosis, then you have spotters where you just see the patient from a distance, not touch the patient, and give a diagnosis. So what I'm trying to tell is that you come with an expectation, and the education and it actually takes you in a different format. And most of the doctors who pass out are then actually taught how to handle patients fast, how to make a fast clinical diagnosis, how to make a fast quick fix in terms of their treatment. And that's it. The personal connect, the art of medicine, is really never taught formally to a student. And then when we talk about the difference between a modern medicine and an alternative medicine, let me tell you, at least in a place like India, I'll put 70% of our patients actually are on some form of alternative medicine, whether they disclose this to their patients or not. Many of the patients actually tell us that, Dr. Sahab, hum ye medicine le rahe hain, kya le rahe hain? Now, after having been in this profession for 30 years, you really don't know ABCD of allopathic, Ayurveda, homeopathy, and all your patients, most of your patients are actually on it. This is again a big lacuna. I think I strongly propagate that in undergraduate there should be a curriculum where the basic concepts of alternative medicine are taught. Because all your patients would actually be on these medications, and how these medicines interact with your medicines, we have no idea. That's another area which I thought that we need strong concept of what we call as an integrative medicine. This is typically, conventionally, what a PSM book or a WHO would say, what is a state of health is. And Dr. Hegde spoke a lot about it. A state of complete physical, mental, emotional, spiritual well-being. As doctors of modern allopathic medication, the emphasis is purely on physical health, and to some extent maybe on psychological and emotional health, but we have no concept of assessing the spiritual health, or what we say, the emotional health of our patients. That's one aspect. The other is, in a place like India, we have an extreme dual burden. Now, when I was an undergraduate student, I came across diabetes and hypertensions very, very less frequently than what I do now. It was a huge burden on infectious diseases. It was undernutrition, it was maternal mortalities, it was childbirth related problems, undernutrition related problems, and now in a 15 years span, we are seeing obesity as a big epidemic. We are talking about high blood pressure. Now, Dr. Hegde had a very, very interesting perspective on hypertension. I can give you a similar perspective on cholesterols, for example. So those numbers keep changing. So we started at 250 when I was an undergraduate student, and now the concept is we have forgotten what is the lowest number, what is where we want to go, and so the literature says lower the better. So studies have shown going down to 70. There's a recent study which has come up which goes bad cholesterol LDL should be less than 50, and the latest recommendation now is lower the better, so that you don't put a lower number to it. Now, I'm not going into that controversy of how much this is commercialized, how much this is drug industry based, and how much it is not. But you read the sentence that our medicine lays too much of emphasis on RCTs. What is RCTs? Randomized controlled trials. Now, till date, we presumed that whatever results come out of the randomized controlled studies will be called as grade 1A recommendation. That means they are the highest level of recommendations, and hence this therapy is either highly effective or highly ineffective. And now we in our scientific forum criticize and have put a big question mark on the outcomes of RCTs. We now know that they are really not the gold standards. They are really not the correct way of performing a study. How can you have in a clinical practice an individual who is a control arm and an individual who is a study arm? And how do we then confound the placebo effect which comes in these trials? So now we know that RCTs are wrong. And we know that most of the medications which have been introduced a decade or 2 decades back, The long-term side effects only come to be realized much later on. I'll quote the example of cholesterol, dyslipidemia, and the statins. We all know the controversy and confusion in that. So that's where I've written, balancing out the efficacy and safety of medications. Now, I think Dr. Hegde during his comments, during his talk, did make a comment upon the number of problems which are created by medications. Yes, it is true that a hospital-acquired death or a medication-acquired side effect, the total deaths are third highest cause in the world after cardiovascular and the cancer-related deaths. So all of us know these issues, but still I would say that modern medicine does have its role to play. It has a big role, and it's not only limited to quick fixes. It is a science which we must give a due respect to. The other day I was just talking to one of the very senior practitioners of Ayurveda, and was interestingly discussing about this issue of trials in the alternative system, the alternative world of practice. And this guy came out with a very interesting perspective. He said, modern medicine does need a lot of trials. You are just about 150 years old. Our science is more than 2,000 years old. It is proven, and we don't need to really now prove to the world that this is a science and this is an established. And that's actually true. In modern medicine, what is the concept of preventive medicine? Preventive medicine or primordial prevention. We talk about preventing a disease from establishing itself. Okay? What best we can do is do a set of tests which will pick up an aberration, an abnormality, which we then, according to the data or statistics, say that whether you fit in that plus minus 2 standard deviation, and if yes, you are healthy. If you don't fit into that profile and your levels are plus minus 2 standard deviations, you are abnormal and you may have a disease spectrum. That's a big limitation. And this is what I learned when I got introduced to the system of a holistic medicine, where one can actually diagnose or anticipate a development of a disease much before it actually becomes evident by those biochemical tests. So that's another sort of a shortcoming in if only one practices only modern day medicine. And that is how I actually got exposed for the first time. And you know, in a busy practice, patients would ask you prior to my even thought of going into an integrative medicine is, Dr. Saab, I'm taking this medicine, they'll bring a vial, bottle of herbs or something. So we would just shun them, don't talk about this. You know, if you want to come to me, you just take this medicine which I am prescribing, rest I have no idea and I don't think you should be, it's not a good idea for you to take it. That entire perspective has changed. After you actually read about it, see it, experience it, talk to the patients, it's a huge different world. And my own experience in the last 1.5 to 2 years, where I've been to, in this case, I've sort of met up with Dr. Thomas Schluss. I went in January 2014 just to hear him out and experience what he has to say. I said, okay, let's go with an open mind and try to see what it has to offer. And those 3 days really opened my eyes, because here it was a practicing doctor, a surgeon for last 30 years who had changed his practice for a better outcomes of his patients. And he was a person who could actually explain the concepts of alternative forms of medicine in a very scientific manner, using the background of anatomy and physiology and biochemistry, what we are taught in the first 2 years of MBBS curriculum. He actually picked up those concepts. And I'll give you the simple example. All of us know that stress is a big cause of diseases. It's known that stress causes cancer, stress causes heart attacks, and stress causes high blood pressure. He could actually physiologically explain, and that was the first time I could understand the physiology, how stress can cause these. Okay, we all know about the sympathetic and parasympathetic system. Sympathetic system is the adrenaline, the rush hormone, which causes you to react instantaneously in a stressful situation. Now, people who are stressed, generally, most of the times, or at least some of the times, maybe during workplace or whatever, the levels of these hormones are much higher than a non-stressed, what in our science we call as type A and type B personality. So if your levels of adrenaline hormone or sympathetic hormones are generally higher than the others, what it does is the lymphatics are the channels which drain or clear your extracellular fluid, the fluid which is outside the cells and which is the toxins which accumulate around the cells. the drainage is less because the tone of the lymphatics are constricted because of higher tone of sympathetics. And so the toxins keep accumulating around the cells and are not cleared off. And it is this milieu of the cells, the outside milieu of the cells, which actually affects the functioning of the cells and ultimately causes cellular dysfunction. If you open up these channels, let the toxins move away, the cells regenerate. So the concept that the body has a capacity to self-generate and self-heal, provided it is given the right environment, is the entire core of integrative medicine or holistic medicine. So all we are trying to, in modern medicine, we presume that the medicines will act and sort of counter what is going wrong. So yes, you can do a quick fix. The bulb which is malfunctioning, you are replacing the bulb, but the electrical circuit may be a problem. Here, you are actually trying to go into a root causation of illness. So as Tony said, that diabetes in one person and diabetes in two, what modern medicine does is treat diabetes same way. What holistic medicine is doing is treat diabetes maybe in a similar way, but try to find out, is the causation of diabetes in a patient A and B the same or not? And if it is different, what can we do differently in those two patients? So we may ultimately give metformin for both these patients, but we may additionally do certain things which entertain the root causation of an illness so as to try to cure. So in modern day medicine, if you ask me, and this was a quote from one of the very interesting books which I had read, said modern medicine has cure only for about 20 diseases. And we know there are 2,000 complex diseases which we treat. Okay? Whereas when we talk about combining the best of all medicine or a holistic medicine, it is not a disease-based approach. It is a root causation-based approach. So there's nothing like whether we can cure or control or not. It is, everything is curable, everything is controllable, provided you address, you identify the root cause of it, eliminate it, and just give body the time to heal and repair. So that's what my understanding has been so far. How it has so far, it's been too short a period, so I really won't say that it has dramatically transformed my way I practice medicine, but yes, it has significantly and dramatically changed my outlook to how the medicine should be practiced. With the knowledge I have gained in the last 1.5 to 2 years, I have actually started using that to the benefit of my patients. Even if I am not being able to practice it in its entirety, I do talk about this to patients. I am more open to when my patients discuss alternative therapies with me, and I've taken this as a passion upon me to build this into from a modern medicine practice into an integrative holistic practice. How I would want to do this is not really by trying to imbibe and learn the 500 different types of medicine which are being practiced in the world, which are 2,000 years old. Probably in my lifetime that's not possible for me to do it. But to have a right set of people working together maybe, who have right knowledge skills, right data banks in their sets to and collectively between few people manage, and something what I think Tony showed in one of his photographs in China. China is doing some amazing work. I have heard about this from a lot of people, that they have big hospitals and centers where people from different practices of medicine sit together and try to give a very unique, holistic, individualized prescription to a patient. Maybe ultimately that's a way forward for every place. And the earlier we do that, the better off we will be. How is it going to benefit the patients? Of course, I don't have to talk about that. It is a win-win situation for everyone. It is the way forward. In US, last time I just went a month back to actually see in Dr. Schultz's clinic, how he's doing it in his clinic, practically to see, talk to his patients. The case which Tony showed about that small baby with the infant, the floppy syndrome, actually during one of the 3 days while I was interning in his clinic, this family was there and I spent a lot of time with them. And it is amazing to see the results of this 2.5 years old baby. I did see him a year back when he was in India, and the motor responses, the motor skills of baby are just amazing. And earlier we as doctors do hear about cases where terminal cancers, people have recovered out of it. And we used to talk about it, it must be some magic, it must be some freak which has happened that this patient has recovered out of this so-called terminal disease. Now in last 1.5 years, I've met up, spoken and interacted with so many of such people. who have survived not only survived, actually come out of their terminal diseases, that it is not miracle, it is not magic. And only difference these patients have done is that they have sort of, number one, had faith in what they are pursuing. They adopted a holistic form of medicine. The practitioners they finally met up with at a stage of their illness when they were written up by most of the doctors were practitioners of holistic medicine. So it's happened too many times in the last 2 years to be just a freak or a magic. And I now believe that this is a science which doctors and patients ultimately will benefit with. The maximum scope of this type of practice, of course, like even Dr. Hegde said, that modern medicine will probably remain the cornerstones when it comes to emergencies. So we have critically ill patients, we have patients where we have no time to give them. Modern medicine works extremely well. In certain areas of chronic lifestyle diseases, modern medicine has a big role to play. But then there are a lot of components in these patients where we cannot do anything about. And if I start naming the list of those conditions, it will be endless. That's where integration with homeopathy, Ayurveda, allopathy, energy balancing, energy healing, all these medicines have a very, very dramatic effect. So I'll stop here. Between ourselves, we are trying to sort of get together into a sort of group of people who are open-minded and who are keen towards practicing these form of medicines, and at the same time not forgetting their basic sort of competence of modern medicine and reviving the art of medicine. Thank you.